Greetings, everybody, wherever in the world you are. Today we're going to talk about something called hidden treasure. Now, who amongst us has not been enamored by a treasure map? Who amongst us has not marveled at a movie that actually begins? If you remember the book National Treasure, whichever that story was, the way it went, and I may get the title wrong, but they find this treasure map, and the treasure map is about American history, and the family has devoted their entire life to it, and then one guy finds it, the Book of Secrets or whatever it is. But the reality is that in life, very few of us will find a treasure map. Now, in the days of old, people did bury their treasure in fields, and when they buried their treasure in fields and they died, someone else may have found it. There are legends about lost cities like Atlantis and the Inca gold and what the early Spanish conquistadors did with the gold they found in parts of Central and South America. And these are all legendary. In fact, people have dedicated their entire lives to being treasure hunters. And sometimes when you make a claim on it, there is a moratorium in terms of time. There is a governmental thing that has to go in if it's an artifact. If it is old bullion, when it is brought to the surface, many different people come out of the woodwork to make their claim. Treasure is something that humanity has always marveled at, always wondered at, and always tried to want a part of it. Even in families, there are people who wait to see if they are as part of the will. There are people who wonder who that land belongs to. I myself, when I'm driving down the highway in the United States, I'll see these vast open periods of land that are marketed by some kind of a barbed wire, and they'll have a small gate in it, which means someone owns that. What are they going to do with all that property? It's in the middle of nowhere. How are they going to be able to ever find a way to make value out of it? In the early days when I was going through the motivational ranks, I read a story about Spindletop. And Mr. Ziegler said, "You are Spindletop." Well, Spindletop was an oil well, and I couldn't comprehend how you could become an oil well. But the story goes back in legend that in Beaumont, Texas, at the turn of the century, there was a farmer who owned a plot of land. And he was going broke, but someone came up to him and said, "We believe you have oil beneath your land, and we're going to bring it to the surface, and we're going to take it to the market, and we're going to create value for it. And for every barrel we sell, we'll give you a piece of the property, of the piece of the profit." He had nothing to lose, everything to gain, so he acquiesced. And as a result of that, they said that when Spindletop, when that gusher was finally capped, many 100,000 barrels of oil had flown before they could cap it. It was so powerful that it obliterated the derricks that were made out of wood. The farmer became an instant millionaire, but Mr. Ziegler's question was, or did he? You see, he was always a millionaire because he had the treasure within or beneath him. But till they brought it to the surface, took it to the market, and created value for it, he was broke. Many of us go through life like that because we have hidden treasure within us that we never bring to the market, never take to the surface, never do anything. Well, in the Gospel of Matthew, there is a parable, and the parable is just that. A parable is a story, but the parable talks about, and I think in chapter 13, verse 44, it talks about a man who found a treasure. And when he found that treasure on a piece of land, he buried it again and went away with joy to sell everything else he had and raise what he needed to come back and buy that piece of property legitimately and so have a claim on it. And when I was reading that parable, I thought about life itself, and I said, why not create an illustration that talks about this when talking about untold wealth, uncharted frontiers, when talking about all that we want to aspire and all that we want to become. I want to take you through a journey of how this works in reality almost every day, and we don't ever pay attention to it. So this man finds a treasure. But he hides it because it's not his treasure. It was on a land that he was just on. See, when the first step when you find a treasure is, can you go through a stage of denial? See, lottery winners who go through that windfall are given an option. They said, do you want to take it as a lump sum right now? In which case about 40% or 50% of that lump sum, maybe untold millions, will go to tax. And they think to themselves, I was broke, I'm getting 50 million, so what if I give away 25 million? I'll just keep 25 million to myself. and they take the lump sum. And very quickly they realize that that kind of windfall is like going from a donut to baked Alaska overnight. You don't enjoy it, you don't know how to protect it, and it's not delectable enough because you haven't created the skill set necessary to master it. Out of the woodwork will come everybody, every ambition, every subtle desire will come, every house you want to buy, every piece of property you want to investigate, every little jet ski you want to ride on. You have money that you have never had before, so your habits begin to change. Many of these lottery winners later on, when they are interviewed, they say they are either broke, or they're depressed, or they're contemplating giving it all up. Because the thought process is, I have found something that I never had before, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I took it. This parable actually is in a different way for me. When I found the truth, the tridimensional truth of the gospel, I was raised in a different way, I was created in a different tradition, I participated in different habits, and suddenly one day when this truth is presented to you, your first notion of joy is you're bursting with the fact that suddenly something was presented to you that is actually simple. It checks all the boxes. It is logically consistent. It has all of the issues that you were plagued with are suddenly delivered. Because the word that was presented to me was, A, your past is forgiven. B, your future is assured. C, your present has a counselor. So let me get this straight. Everything that I lamented is taken away because someone said it is done. And then there is a future that is still there for me regardless of what I've done. And in all the doing that exists at present, there is someone who is going to guide me. That's all it was. There was no great theological revelation to me. It was presented to me in a way that was very simple. It was almost given to me like a treasure. And I suddenly realized that I didn't deserve this treasure because I felt it belonged to someone else. Little old me can't possibly get it. By the same token, I also had the saddled burden of everything else that was around me. The tradition in which I was raised, the parents who raised me, the siblings who existed alongside me, the extended family, the culture, my close friends, my education system, everything was going to be challenged by just a decision that was personal. I found a treasure. I found a treasure that I was so happy about, but I had to make a decision. I had to deny it for a period of time in the public eye, so I hid it again. There was a period of 6 years where I went about to go through what I call the dedication process. So first is discovery, you find the treasure. Second is denial, you give it away. Third, you go through the dedication process of trying to find out everything in your life that can now be altered and rectified so that when you come back and legitimately say that this is the treasure I have found, everybody around you will say, okay, you have not offended us, you have not betrayed us, you have not characterized us, you have not miscast us. Now, I'm giving a very simple illustration in terms of life's journey, but that happens for about everything we find. There is God-given ability in each and every one of you. But sometimes the first thing to do when you look at the ability that God gives you and you're bursting is maybe deny it for a period of time. And in that denial, after the discovery, you get through the process of dedicating yourself to eliminating stuff. Yesterday, when I was recording a video for our new Success Academy, which is hopefully something you will discover as well in the very near future, I shared the story of a Native American Indian who I had met some years ago. He says, what are you here to talk about? I said, success. He says, oh, success, easy to explain. I said, what do you mean? He said, success is like a canoe. It's like building a canoe. And I thought to myself, what an odd correlation. What do you mean building a canoe? He says, when you start with canoe, when you want to build a canoe, you start with a tree. And then you systematically remove all parts that is not a canoe. And I thought, what genius. Well, that's what life is. Life and its living and its liberty and its pursuit is starting with what is given and then removing all parts that does not validate that treasure, that God-given ability that is within you. Think about it, friends. When you stand in front of the mirror today or tomorrow, ask yourself, is there another person on planet Earth who looks exactly like you, sounds exactly like you, dresses exactly like you, lives exactly where you live? The answer is no. There is only one you. That's what treasure is. Usually treasure is there's one of a kind. There's only one kind of treasure with one kind of value, and the next treasure will be slightly different and have a different value. Every oil well is different. Every gemstone is different. Every polished diamond is different. Everything that has intrinsic value, when it is finally given value, is given value as something that is unique. That's what preciousness is all about. So as you ponder this, ask yourself that fundamental question. What is the treasure within you that you have discovered? Then ask yourself, are you willing to deny it in the short term rather than taking it as a lump sum and fighting against the world? Or are you going to now deny it for a period of time after you've discovered it and then dedicate yourself to fixing everything around you, to removing all parts that's not a canoe? Then when you get to the delivery, which is the other side of it, you can truly lay claim to this treasure because you have invested in your time, you have looked at your talent, you have evaluated the territory, and now as a result of the transformation, you can rightfully say, this is my treasure. I not only deserve it, I stand tall and proclaim it, and as a result of my acquiring it, it is now mine. The Word of God is a treasure. Life itself is a treasure. Living is a treasure. But in order to do this in the way that it was manifested, you have to look at it in its singularity before you can multiply it in its plurality. You have to be able to be someone they can look at and say, did you deny it for a period of time? I know when I went through a period of my life in the late 90s, early 2000s, I got estranged from the very people that raised me because they found something different about me. I was giving up the things that came as normative pleasures. I was abdicating the things that they assumed I would want in terms of property. They were worried that I was going down a path, to the point where they begin to point fingers of the fact that, hey, this fellow is almost a zealot. But like the man in the parable, I found this treasure. And before I could acquire the treasure, I had to deny it for a period of time because when I rightfully proclaimed it, I wanted all the boxes checked. I didn't want anyone else to have a claim on my past identity. I didn't want anybody else to have a claim on this thing by saying, you're an also-ran. I wanted to be unique in the way I was delivered. I wanted to be unique in the way I was transformed. And I wanted to be unique in the way I represented this treasure. So hidden treasures are just that. They have a point of discovery. And in that point of discovery, you begin to realize that this treasure is there for you. Then there is a period of denial where you say, hey, before I go out and celebrate it, maybe I need to go and check whether this is the right thing for me, or more importantly, will it alienate someone else? Is there an integrity issue here in owning this? Now, obviously, that's a stretch because usually when you are liberated by the gospel truth, it says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father except through me. You accept it and you're immediately changed. But I think something manifest will happen when you look at the lives of Augustine, when you look at the lives of John Bunyan, when you look at the lives of John Newton, who wrote Amazing Grace, or you look at the life of John Wesley, who started the Methodist Church, or Charles Wesley, who penned all those hymns, or any of those great people. There was a period of denial in their lives where they put onto the back burner that which they had learned, that which they had inherited, that which they had amassed. And then they dedicated the rest of the period of time to making sure that they were the perfect recipient for it. And maybe that's the word. Are you the perfect recipient for that which you think is your hidden treasure? And in order to understand whether you're the perfect recipient of the hidden treasure within you, there has to be that discovery, there has to be that denial, and that dedication to self, and then the abdication of everything else, and that will bring you to the delivery. Hopefully this little missive, this little excursion has encouraged you. Send us your remarks and your comments. Thank you for the things that you do send and validate. Spread the word, spread the cheer. More importantly, make sure that once you are claiming yourself as the rightful inheritor of it, give some of it away so someone else can find a hidden treasure too. Until next time, this is your humble host, Krish Dunham, saying good luck, God bless, and we'll see you soon.